Welcome back to Power Play, where we travel the world to explore the hard truths of the energy transition. I'm your host, Paul Browning, and in this episode, my wife and I take you on a 9-day journey across Norway in an electric vehicle, tackling some of the country's most iconic hikes along the way. If you're an oil or auto industry executive who thinks electric vehicles will never overtake internal combustion engine vehicles, you need to watch this episode. So let's go. Before describing our electric vehicle and hiking experience, let's take a look at Norway's power grid, since we'll be using it to charge our vehicle along the way. Norway has over 1,600 hydropower plants, which in 2022 generated 88% of its total power production. Wind power contributed another 10%, making the power grid almost entirely carbon-free. This means that our carbon emissions while driving our electric vehicle were essentially zero. Now let's look at Norway's progress with electrification of passenger vehicle transportation. In 2023, electric vehicles made up an incredible 82% of the country's new car sales, and Norway's EV charging infrastructure is ubiquitous, with even remote areas offering fast charging facilities. And now for the good stuff. Let's look at the 9-day driving and hiking experience my wife and I had in Norway. Prior to this trip, we had zero EV experience. We were about to drive almost 2,000 kilometers through remote regions of Norway, all for you, our 25,000 plus subscribers. Our journey began in Oslo on July 23rd, where we picked up our 2024 Volkswagen ID.4 from Enterprise Rent-A-Car. The ID.4 had a range of 580 kilometers when fully charged, and for safety, we decided not to let our charge fall below 30%, since we were going to be in remote areas, and we had such limited experience with electric vehicles. So this limited our effective range to about 400 kilometers. The SUV we rented was perfectly sized for our luggage, which included golf clubs, 3 checked bags, and a few carry-ons for our 3-month European trip. It's worth pausing here to point something out. In addition to Norway's extensive vehicle charging network, the fact that the range of EVs has increased so much in recent years and that fast charging times have also improved were also critical enablers of this trip we took. As lithium-ion battery technology continues its rapid improvement, these capabilities will only improve. On day 1, we planned to hike the challenging Besseggen Ridge in Giendesheim. Starting with a 100% charge, we drove 245 kilometers in 3.5 hours and arrived with a 45% charge remaining. There was no charging available in the parking lot, so we planned to do a fast charge after our hike. I hiked up 2,300 feet to the peak and returned, which was a 6-mile round trip. My ultramarathon running wife, however, hiked the entire 10 miles and 3,600 feet of elevation. I took the car to a 150 kilowatt fast charging station and recharged to 80% in 20 minutes for $18.96, while my wife finished her hike and took a ferry back. We then drove to our hotel in Hjell, arriving with 48% charge. We weren't able to recharge at our hotel in Hjell, but the next day we only had a short drive to Gerangerfjord's ferry station. The first part of the drive was steeply uphill, and we experienced some range anxiety as we watched our remaining charge fall rapidly. However, regenerative braking saved us on the way back downhill, and we arrived with 37% charge. We took the ferry to the bottom of a cliff and hiked 1,000 feet up steep switchbacks to reach a mountain farm that provided a stunning view of the Seven Sisters waterfall. We had plugged in at a slow charger at a nearby hotel while we hiked, so when we arrived back at the ferry station after a 5-mile hike back from the farm, we arrived to find our car at 80% charge. We drove back to Hjell without any issues, having 68% charge remaining when we arrived. The following morning, we spent about 15 minutes charging to 81% at a Tesla supercharger in Stryn. This was on our way to our next stop, Bergen. After about 5 hours of driving, we arrived in Bergen with 37% charge. Since we weren't driving the next 2 days, we parked the car close to our hotel and decided to figure out where to charge later. On our final day in Bergen, I found a free charging location at a large parking garage. We left it overnight and departed the next morning with 87% charge, enough to drive 3 hours and 20 minutes to our hike at Little Trolltunga, and then 2 hours and 15 minutes more to our hotel in Stavanger. The hike was challenging but had a great payoff at the top, with an incredible view of the fjord below. We arrived at our hotel in Stavanger with 38% charge remaining. In Stavanger, we charged 87% overnight at no extra cost in a nearby parking garage. The next morning, we drove to our hike at Pulpit Rock. The hike was steep and challenging, but the payoff at the top was again incredible as we stood on a rock platform with a 2,000-foot vertical drop down to the fjord. We finished the hike, had lunch, and drove to our next hotel in Ullensvang with 35% charge remaining when we arrived. At Ullensvang Hotel, we had reserved a charging spot ahead of time, making it easy to charge our car at no additional fee. We were supposed to hike 27 kilometers and 3,000 feet of elevation to Trollstung, but our resort was pretty incredible and we were pretty tired, so we decided to relax at the resort that day instead of tackling Trolltunga. We left the hotel on July 31st with 100% charge, enough to reach our next hotel in Oslo with 36% charge remaining. In Oslo, we parked overnight at a free charging location in a large parking garage. The next morning, we found that the car had only charged to 53% overnight, so on the way to the airport, we stopped at a 50-kilowatt Tesla supercharger and filled up to 86% in 20 minutes for $15.30. We reached the airport with 84% charge, which gave us credit for a full tank return, and we had plenty of time to return the car, check our bags, and catch our flight. Now let's break down the costs of our EV journey versus what it would have cost in an internal combustion engine vehicle. Our total cost for 9 days and 1,947 kilometers of driving was $1,555. This included the rental car, parking, tolls, ferries, and charging. In comparison with an internal combustion engine rental vehicle driving the same distance, the rental car would have cost the same. The fuel cost would have been about $200 more than we paid for charging our electric vehicle, and the parking cost, road tolls, and ferries would have been about twice as much because Norway gives a 50% discount to electric vehicles. So driving an EV in Norway saved us about $360. Norway's commitment to electrifying public transport and providing extensive EV infrastructure was impressive. Our EV had all the latest technologies and it drove like a charm. And I appreciated the extra acceleration while passing trucks on Norway's one-lane roads. Unlike France and Spain, where I frequently stopped to pay tolls, in Norway we never had to stop, and tolls and ferry fees were reported to our rental car company and included in our final bill. All recharging was either free, was included with parking at no extra cost, or was paid by credit card through apps that we downloaded during the trip. On top of the electrification of passenger vehicles, Oslo's public transport, including taxis, is also completely electrified, and electrification of Bergen's public transport will be completed later this year. Even in remote Flam, we encountered an electric ferry as Norway begins the process of electrifying their extensive ferry fleet. My one criticism from this trip is that Norway's EV charging network wasn't always entirely foreigner-friendly, with some messages only available in Norwegian and some chargers requiring a Norwegian phone number to use their payment app. So here's the hard truth from this episode. For any auto or oil industry execs listening who don't think EVs will take hold worldwide, you need to take a driving trip in an electric vehicle in Norway. By the end of hours, it was clear that this is the future of passenger vehicle transportation. Some viewers will be tempted to say that Norway's hydropower capacity and the fact that it's a wealthy nation are unique, and that it's wrong to say the rest of the world will follow their lead. But the real truth is that someone had to go first, and of course, it was the country with the best resources. As battery technologies continue to rapidly improve and fall even further in cost, and as power grids around the world decarbonize, one country after another will make the transition to electric vehicles. The hard truth is that EVs are going to rapidly dominate the future of passenger vehicle transportation. Well, that's a wrap for episode 4 of season 2. Stay tuned for more adventures on PowerPlay as we continue to travel the world exploring the hard truths of the energy transition. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, subscribe to my PowerPlay YouTube channel, and share this episode with a friend or colleague. Next week, we'll travel to the Shetland Islands to explore how this remote island is making a generational investment in decarbonizing its power sector and converting its energy exports from oil and gas to wind power. I'm also planning a future return episode to Norway to explore the past and future of hydropower. So thanks very much for watching.